Tonight we take a look back at George H.W. Bush's time in the Bay Area and the countless statements of farewell that are coming into our newsroom tonight. First, a look at his life and legacy with reporter Chris Martinez.
I, George Herbert Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
When George Herbert Walker Bush took the oath of office in 1989, he already had an impressive legacy. World War II hero, Texas oilman, director of the CIA, and vice president. Politics would dominate his life. Bush was born in 1924 in Milton, Massachusetts. On his 18th birthday, he enlisted in the Navy, becoming the youngest fighter pilot in World War II. During an air raid in the Pacific, he was shot down, a rescue famously captured on film.
I knew that if something didn't pick me up, I would be captured. Shortly
after returning from the war, he married Barbara Pierce. They would have 6 children and 17 grandchildren.
I think he's the wisest, smartest, most decent, caring person I know.
Bush studied at Yale University. He graduated Phi Beta Kappa in just 2.5 years, but he left New England to make it on his own. He carved out his fortune in the wildcat oil fields of Texas.
What a day!
In the 60s, Bush turned to politics. He was elected to Congress in 1966 and became a power player in the Republican Party.
Leaving the door open.
In 1980, he ran unsuccessfully against Ronald Reagan for the GOP nomination, then agreed to be Reagan's running mate. He was Reagan's vice president for 8 years before becoming the 41st president of the United States.
I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
During his one term in the White House, Bush played a key role in the reunification of Germany. He also took on Saddam Hussein for invading Kuwait, launching Operation Desert Storm, the first Gulf War.
A new world order can emerge, a new era.
Bush formed a coalition of 30 nations to liberate Kuwait in just 6 weeks, but he was criticized for not removing Iraq's defiant leader. After the war, the economy slowed down.
Read my lips. No new taxes.
Bush was forced to break that campaign promise and raised taxes. As the economy continued to sink, so did his approval ratings. And in 1992, he lost the election to Bill Clinton. In later years, the former rivals raised millions for victims of the tsunami in Southeast Asia and Hurricane Katrina. Bush remained active during retirement. He saw his oldest son become president, and another son, Jeb, served 2 terms as Florida's governor. He even went skydiving to celebrate his 80th, 85th, and 90th birthdays.
Can't play golf anymore, but I still can jump out of a plane.
But in his final years, Bush's health deteriorated, and he developed a form of Parkinson's that made it difficult to walk. He used a wheelchair during a 2011 visit to the White House when President Obama awarded him with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. In 2018, Bush was at his wife's side holding her hand when she passed at their Houston home. He called her the most beloved woman in the world, his devotion to her to the end, never failing. Chris Martinez, CBS News.
Well, in 1989, President George H.W. Bush visited the Bay Area to tour the growing Silicon Valley.
KPIX 5's Andria Borba in the newsroom with that part of our coverage tonight. Andria?
Well, Ken, Elizabeth's 41st president led through a time of sweeping global change, and part of that change was happening right here in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley.
In 1989, during his first 100 days in office, President Bush buzzed through Silicon Valley to trumpet America's ability to compete in foreign markets. He toured the Ford Aerospace plant in Palo Alto, where he gave a speech in front of 500 workers.
I want to give the high five symbol to high tech, and I want to do it by investing in competitiveness.
During his brief stop, he urged support for his controversial plan to cut capital gains taxes. He urged the Silicon Valley crowd to pressure Congress to support his plan. The president then traveled to Moffett Field, where he waved to onlookers before boarding Air Force One to fly to Southern California. He was scheduled to meet briefly with former President Ronald Reagan. Now, reaction has been coming in during the past couple of hours, including from 4 presidents, present and former. George W. Bush says in a statement, George H.W. Bush was a man of the highest character and the best dad a son or daughter could ask for. The entire Bush family is deeply grateful for 41's life and love, for the compassion of those who have cared for and prayed for Dad, and for the condolences of our friends and fellow citizens. President Trump tweeted this: through his essential authenticity, disarming wit, and unwavering commitment to faith, family, country, President Bush inspired generations of his fellow Americans to public service. Former President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle wrote, after 73 years of marriage, George and Barbara Bush are together again now, 2 points of light that never dimmed, 2 points of light that ignited countless others with their example. And former President Bill Clinton wrote, he never stopped serving. I saw it up close, working with him on tsunami relief in Asia and here at home after Hurricane Katrina. His remarkable leadership and great heart were always on full display. George H.W. Bush is survived by his 5 children, 17 grandchildren, and 8 great-grandchildren. Funeral arrangements are pending tonight. Ken, Elizabeth?
Andrea, thank you for that.
Well, in 2014, Bush celebrated his 90th birthday by skydiving near his home in Maine. He made similar parachute jumps when he turned 80 and then 85. Then he told his granddaughter Jenna he had, quote, one more left in me.
And in 2015, with Barbara nearby, he threw out the ceremonial first pitch at a Houston Astros playoff game. At the time, Bush was recovering from a broken vertebrae in his neck. I met him in 1988 at the Republican National Convention. He was the nominee. And he announced that he was bringing on this guy named Dan Quayle as his vice president. And we all said, who's that? And but he answered every question. He was quite gracious, and he really was a nice man. He would talk to you one-on-one, and I think the world's going to miss him.
That's the theme of kind of everybody's statement tonight, and remembering him as what a class act he was and what a gentleman he was.
Absolutely.